afternoon. We meet again once a month. Today, I have invited a very important guest. Let me share my screen. I want to introduce Mr. Takalah. So let me spend about 5 minutes to introduce him. And in my title, I say that he's a neuroplastic man. So he lost half of his brain, and the father was also passed away from heart attack a few months after his major accident. So you can see his photo here. He has a massive brain injury. The skull was cracked, and this him now. He contribute to some other patient with brain injury, and he speaks regularly to motivate others with brain injury. So Mr. Takalah, his name is very special. So I will let him explain why he come up with this name. It's a combination of Malay word. So in 1994, on May 24, he was sending off his girlfriend home after having a dinner, and he rode back on his Honda Hurricane. So those of you who has a motorbike, you know what type of bike is this. He was a NUS mechanical engineering graduate, and he just returned from vacation in New Zealand and Australia, and is going to start work in a big company called Procter & Gamble. As his bike was speeding towards the expressway, he didn't notice there's a police car station just next to the road, and he didn't see this car and was speeding at 100 km/h, and part of his handle was in contact with the door. And within a split second, Mr. Tan was thrown off in midair, and his helmet was thrown off, and he landed with his head first on the shoulder curb about 70 meters away. So his motorbike broke into two, but the damage to his body was even more extreme. He didn't pass away. He survived with a lot of damages. He has dislocated eyeballs, a torn nose, a broken leg. His right shin was shortened by about 1.5 inches, a punctured lung, a pneumothorax, 3 broken ribs, a broken spine, and a dislocated shoulder. His face was also smashed, and in his word, he said it's like a porcelain plate that was dropped on the floor and held together by my flesh. Tan also lost half of his brain capacity where his brain sinus, the neurons and brain vessels were damaged. The doctors gave him less than 1% chance of surviving. He shouldn't have lived. So in total, Mr. Tan has 7 surgeries performed on his brain and another 9 reconstructive surgeries to fix his face and body. What wasn't cured is that he has amnesia, and it's challenging for Mr. Tan to work, and he resort to recording things on his notebook. He works, but sometimes if he's in the middle of conversation, sometimes he may not remember some of his the thing that was discussed. He currently works as a physical therapist for elderly people at the Tzu Chi Senior Day Activity Center in Jurong. So the title here says Sudah Jatuh di Timpa Tangga. So this is some of the conversation that happened during the accident. So when he was met with the accident, the police called his home, and the mom answered the call. When she heard about his accident, she collapsed and cried. And his father also collapsed on the chair and cried. And why must it be my son? So Tan's father took the accident hard, and because Mr. Tan is a high achieving, high performance young man and his favorite son. And when Tan was hospitalized, his father gave up drinking to care for him. The father wanted so much to stay by his son's side that he chose not to go for a much needed heart bypass. He didn't want his family to run between 2 hospitals, and so he called off his own surgery. Unfortunately, without the surgery, Mr. Tan's father passed away from a heart attack during his sleep about 3 months after his accident. The mom was so sad that she said that she has lost 2 men in her life at one go. Tan could only understand the weight of his father's death 6 months later after his accident. The gift of it he said was a big reason for his suicidal thoughts. That was 20, 30 years ago. So this is a summary of the medical letter that was sent, was given to him by the consultant neurosurgeon. This written here, 25-year-old man was admitted to NUS on the 25th of May 1994, involved in a road traffic accident with a gross cerebral edema. Skull X-ray show bilateral fracture of the mandible, chest X-ray show right pneumothorax with right upper lobe contusion. There was a fracture of right second and fourth rib. There was a surgical emphysema at the base of the neck, and there was also a fracture of the right upper fibula as a comminuted mid-shaft fracture of the tibia of the right side. Craniotomy and evacuation of the subdural hematoma was carried out, and the post-operatively he was on intravenous phenytoin and mannitol. The cerebral edema gradually settled down. He gradually improved and required multiple dental and craniofacial correction of the defect by Mr. And another surgeon. He was eventually discharged from the hospital on the 12th of September 1994. That was about 4 months after the accident. He has made an excellent functional recovery. So he has many of these challenges: physical, mental, and emotional, and also finances. And finally, his goal of helping others. So these are some of the pictures. Before the accident, he was a very handsome man and a very high performance guy. And this is after the accident, and this is many years after that. It was some of the injury that he had to his eyes. These are some of the scars on his skull. And this is, he was, I think, a triathlon, right? So Mr. Takalah, you elaborate later. He was a commando, and he came to, I think, this Mount Kinabalu. So I have many questions for him, but I let him explain what he has gone through. But the last 15 minutes of 1 hour today, I will ask him very difficult questions, which is all listed here. But I have sent the question to you, but if you answer some of them, then I won't repeat it again. So with that introduction, I want to invite Mr. Takalah to elaborate on the whole process of how what he had. So you have a video to share, Mr. Takalah?
I thought you were sharing the video, so I did not actually prepare the video.
Okay. If you're not, then I'll try to download it because just now my laptop was down. So you continue, and then I'll work on the video.
Okay, Roger.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Imagine I was at the prime of my life, had a good career waiting for me, and I had a good relationship, and everything was so promising. To get a job in Procter & Gamble, I understand I actually competed with 7,000 people, and I am only one of the 2 that were chosen and was given the prime area in Singapore. 1 week before I started work, when I came back from Australia, New Zealand holiday with my friends. That night was a good night because it is a wonderful night for me to confirm my relationship with my wife-to-be. And at the prime of the moment, I kissed her goodnight. I went off happily without tying my helmet. So my helmet was put on my head. I just rode into the expressway, not knowing that on the right lane, in the blind spot after the top of the expressway, it goes down, there was a police vehicle parked on the right lane. They were actually covering accident case. So for me, when I filtered into the expressway, I cut to the right lane straight away. I thought 11 plus, there won't be any vehicle on the right lane. I was wrong. When I got over the summit, the police car appeared, and at 100 km per hour, I had no choice but to look for a way out. And the easiest way was to the right, between the metal railing and the police vehicle door. Sadly, my handlebar scratched the police door. That caused my front wheel to suddenly turn and jam brake. That's why my body actually catapulted 70 meters away. And without my helmet, because the first thing that flew off was my helmet off my head. I flew off the bike, and then my bike flew over a vehicle and broke. Landing on the floor without the helmet actually saved my life. The professor who saved my life, Professor Timothy Lee, told me, Takalah, fortunately, you didn't have the helmet tied, else your head may be decapitated, or you may be injured spinal from your neck, so you're paralyzed full body. When he said that, I thought, you must be kidding. But when I look at it technically, it is true. I traded my face for the retention of my head on my neck. and the ability to be mobile. And guess what? The brain surgeon told me, because your face fractured, your neural fluid leaked out from your nose, end up you are able to have the same pressure at sea level inside your brain. This same pressure allowed my blood to go into my brain to supply with oxygen. Though one of the small vessel, capillary vessel in my brain broke and kept leaking, is on this side. So what happened was 2 weeks in the ICU, they had to rush me to a surgical theater 7 times to extricate the blood clot. Open, pour away the brown water from the brain cavity, take away the blood clot, pour artificial water or liquid, and cover. So I go back to the ward, ICU ward. Leaked again. Pressure is building up again. Oh, so they rushed me over. So my mom and dad were helplessly ignorant, and they saw me rushed in and out. Oh my! It's like my life was on the brink of death, on the edge. And doctor told me, neurosurgeon Professor Timothy, he said, Takalah, I'm sorry, I could not heal your vessel. I could only pray. It was too small for me to stitch. I could only pray. And when he said that, I said, oh my God. Can you imagine a professional neurosurgeon who is a lecturer in NUS medicine faculty can tell me he could only pray? Oh my, God will make a way, and God preserved my life. That's why I'm still alive talking to you. And actually, at that point of time, I didn't know my dad loved me. But when I learned that because of me, he died, I felt so guilty. I felt suicidal. I wanted to give up my life. I pondered about how to give up my life. And can you imagine? I could ponder, and that itself was a blessing, or is a blessing. I could think, I could hypothesize, I could actually think about jumping down from 9th story to end my life. And then I saw, what if I kicked my hind leg too hard and I over-rotated and my leg hit the floor? I may not die, I may paralyze myself and become a greater burden to my beloved family. Oh, that thought resulted in me having to hypothesize possible solution measures. And so what came to my mind was fluid dynamic or aerodynamic. So at that point of time, while recovering at home, I think I was suicide. I was thinking I could hold plates on my hand so that I can create different velocity above and below the plate surface on hand, right, both hands, and that can create a pressure differential on the surface of the plate. And the pressure differential will create a force because of the area. And then the force away, the distance away from my CG will create a torque. So I could maneuver myself in flight. Oh my, I felt like a bird. But before I did that, I said, I need to contemplate because I need to think, there are so many questions on my mind. Should I not? Should I, do I not? Is that what it's meant to be? Or does he has a better purpose for me? So I went down for a stroll. And as I was strolling, I met a Malay neighbor whom I do not know. I sat beside him because it's afternoon, 11:30. So I thought, oh, not bad, just build out a friendship, have a chat. We got nothing better to do. And then I realized he got a walking stick on his hand. So I turned around, I chit-chat with him, and I said, it's about lunchtime. Where do you stay? Can I bring you home? So this Malay gentleman, quite plump, he held the walking stick and he pointed to the staircase on his left. So what I did was that I said, I'll bring you home now. I helped him up, brought him to the staircase, got him home to the second level. When he got home, his mother came out. Oh, do you know, 6 years ago, my son sent his registered wife home. After alighting her, he actually langgar the corner of a bus. And because of that, he suffered semilateral paralysis and he did not fracture his face. So his brain actually got suffocated of oxygen, asphyxia of his brain. So he became a vegetable. And I looked behind, his dad sitting on a chair was holding something like a walking stick or so. And I found out that his father is blind because of old age. Then I said, oh my God, looks like their challenges are greater than mine. His younger brother have to support the whole family, father, mother, brother, plus his own family, subset family. So when I saw that, I realized, hey, there must be a reason why I'm going through this. Maybe there's a role for me to play. So I carried on living my life, and I actually got to join head injury support group activities organized by the hospitals, NUH, SGH, TDSH, they combined together, plus NNI, to organize activities for brain injured people or people affected by brain injury to come together, to share experiences, to play games, to know that we are not alone. In such activities, I get to meet up with other brain injured people who are in worse condition than me. And so I felt fortunate. There are people with paralysis, movement, bowel dysfunction, cognitive deficiency, and some even have, there's a lady, a girl who even have a 5-inch hole on, the left side of a skull where there's a dent. I could touch her brain. I asked her mom, Auntie, why don't you actually fix a titanium plate for her? The mom said, don't need, my daughter doesn't do anything. So she don't need to actually put on the titanium plate. Wow, I tell you, if it were me, if I want to be like what I'm now dancing about, active, running, doing the cha-cha dance with the elderly in Nanyang, I definitely cannot have a whole indentation in my skull. I will get a titanium plate to place on it. So when I saw these brain injured pals having their own unique circumstances, I realized case management is important. After my brain injury at home, nobody seems to understand me. My brothers, my mother, they were all caught off guard because brain injury has not been included in our education system. And so they are ignorant. But though ignorant, they are ready to cast judgment readily. And so I became like a punching bag. Boop, 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 boop. Because there are a lot of feedbacks. Yeah, we told you so many times, why must you be like, why must you do this, why must you do that? And I got memory retention deficit. My gosh, recovering was like hell. But I learned to detach myself, to see myself from a third-party perspective. So can you imagine? I was bombarded by them, but my mind was away from myself. I look at myself as an entity of this group. And what they do was out of ignorance. So I should not feel hatred or resentment. There was one night when my two brothers and my mom, that is less than a year after the accident, about maybe a few months after my accident at home, 3 of them bombarded me at 11 p.m. So what do? I look at them. Guess what? I smile. Without saying a single word, I smile at them. After I smiled, without opening my mouth, I went to the main door of my house. I went out of my house for a 2-kilometer walk before my leg was elongated. Look at my leg. My leg broke and shortened by 1.5 inch. To save my brain, Professor Timothy Lee simply gave up my leg, wrapped it up. So it actually was a diagonal fracture. It was not a perpendicular fracture, it was a diagonal fracture, that slided and protruded. And so they wrapped it up. Focus was on my brain because this was primary concern. And because after I limped for very long, I limped around that state, then I came back. So I carried that one first, then I tore my leg. So when I came back home after hobbling around for half an hour, my younger brother came up to me. Guess what? My younger brother was in Australia studying when I met the accident, QUT, Queensland University of Technology. So when I met the accident, it was just after I toured Australia, I met him in Australia. When I met the accident, he came back to Singapore to see me in the hospital. Then he returned back to study in QUT. My father died of heart attack 3 months after my accident. So my younger brother came back for his funeral and my younger brother returned. My younger brother was the doted child, but that year he grew up, matured greatly. Yeah. And later I'll tell you how he helped me. So can you imagine all three bombarded? And when I came back home after my very calm and relaxing stroll at peace with myself and with them, my younger brother came up to me and said, sorry, bro, sorry for what we did. Guess what? When you left the house, each of us, 3 of us, were in shock. Guess what? We went into our own respective recluse, detached, and we self-reflected, and end up, we regretted our wrong actions. Can you imagine? That night, I won the battle without opening my mouth to say a single word. In Chinese, it seems like 不动是动，动是不动. So it's about being mindful, and this mindfulness is very important in ensuring that my recovery journey, my association with the environment is conducive or is made conducive by my chosen action. Because action is an outcome of circumstances, a function of circumstances, and one of the circumstances is yourself. You can choose to mindfully understand the scenario and make the best choice possible. Because given the situation of who, what, where, when, why, the how, you can come up with possible measures if than otherwise. So you can make choices where you can actually have multi-pronged approach, and at each point, respond to the situation with the best prong conceived by you. And so that's what I did. I don't talk too much. I mean, I do a lot of preconception of ideas when I face up with unforeseen circumstances. And so a lot of people would actually be quite cautious. You know, oh, when I'm not talking, that means I'm thinking. But am I thinking right or wrong? They do not know. So that night, after my family bombarded me and I was able to let them come to realization, from that day onwards, life at home has become much easier. That's why it's about paving the way. It's about molding the environment and molding myself before I mold the environment to ensure the outcome can be conducive for reaching out to a brighter future. And at that point of time at home recovering, you know, by accident actually dislocated my left shoulder, broke through my ribs and broke my right leg. So I conceptualized, I cannot carry weights because it's going to harm my joint. I cannot use elastic band. It may be too stressful and too straining. And I could actually make the situation worse by abrasing my joint when I put force on it. So what did I conceptualize? I thought about, resistance is proportional to rho v squared, that formula of fluid dynamics. So I told my mom, I cannot carry weights, I cannot use elastic band, I cannot run. Mom, I'm going to the swimming pool. My mom jaw dropped. Huh? Go swimming pool, do what? Watch girls in bikini? I told her, no. In the afternoon pool, the girls will be all quite elderly and then they're not wearing bikini. Can you imagine? So I hobbled to the swimming pool, went to the shallow end of the swimming pool, and I actually let my body be lowered so that my knee is bent. It bears the load, a lighter load because of up thrust. And then I gyrate my hand. I can show it to you. So this is like a two-dimensional motion. Resistance, and this can help rehabilitate my shoulder. It means I conceptualize it myself and I try it out. And then after a while, I get more familiar. I try this. One big watermelon, I cut in half. Half for you, half for you. I don't have ready. So can you imagine? I do this for half an hour. A guy at the side of the bank looked at me, pointed to me, and he did this. How should I respond? I was wise. I looked at him, I smiled, and I told myself, I talked to myself. I told myself, I think I know myself better than you do. That means I forgave him because of his ignorance, because he had got some problem in his mind. I do not judge him, but I forgive him. And I carry on doing it. Within 1 year of this rehabilitation, I was able to swim butterfly style. I could dive a full length of the pool with one breath of air. Let me ask, how many of you can do that? I set myself mission and I do it to the best I can. Success comes with failure. I failed many times, but each time I failed, I got better result than earlier. I ensure that I do not harm myself in my body and mind, but that I stretch myself to become better, more taut, so that I can play better music. Can you imagine? After my leg was used as a specimen to teach the NUS undergrad how to amputate leg, I mean, it was done by a Myanmar doctor. I actually ran the full marathon within a year after elongation, and I completed within 8 hours with only 3 training. Can you imagine at the beginning of the run, I know I'm not in good condition. So I set my target to complete before 8 hours is over. And I told myself, what do you need, Takalah? I said, I need buddy. So I looked around, I hunted for a buddy, and I saw a senior gentleman wearing new attire. That means no much experience. He's not familiar. He's just trying to give it a go. Then I said, I can help him and he can help me. So I suggested to him that we will be running buddies. We take turn to lead. And he said, okay, law. So end up, we ran the marathon. We could even joke with the girls who serve us drinks along the way. Quite young, quite petite. Yeah, of course, we didn't get their contact numbers and we carried on with the run. Came to the last half kilometer of the marathon. This gentleman said to me, hey, Takalah, I think I can do the rest on my own. I said, by all means, because I do not want to beat him. I want to beat myself, compete with myself. And so he finished the run about 2-3 minutes in front of me, but we are both victors. I completed the run in 7 hours, 45 minutes. Without him, I would not have finished the run within 8 hours. So it is about being mindful rather than be ego-stricken, ego-driven. So this is one victory that tells the importance of having faith, being mindful, and getting together with the right partnership so as to help it be a win-win situation. And I ever organized, after I became a teacher, I organized a campfire for the brain injured. I got Scouts Association to come in to the picture. You can see this here, Scout Association, American Boy Scouts, the Salvation Army, plus Lions Club, and the many clubs involved. I actually came out with this, and it's called Feel the Zulu. Because Baden Powell, our Scout founder, went to Zulu and actually provided the Zulu tribe in Africa with a lot of assistance. And it's about igniting the fire in everyone. So you all burn for a common good cause, such that there's faith, there's peace, there's freedom, there is good realization. And brings out the glow so that it brings forth a lease of life for those who are challenged. I mean, the patients and their family members, they're feeling helpless, they're feeling out of control. I organize this campfire for those delinquent children who need those kind of psychological, emotional, social help. And here I have a song I want to tell you. It is Pass It On. Let there be a spark in you and pass it on. Ignite the spark so that you can exude light and share on the opportunities, potentials prevalent. Don't be hopeless because there is hope. I actually joined this Scout Association and actually organized this campfire. This campfire, I was the campfire master of ceremony. I actually got the brain injured people to come. I actually made a pendant for every one of them using knots and lashing. And when I saw brain injured people performing on stage, it's part of the whole sequence of event, tears welled up in my eye because the brain injured, two of them in separate performance, they were surrounded by their family members and friends. So it tells me unity is power. When one is uniquely challenged, the other people can be with them, stand aside them, to enable them, to mentor them, to facilitate them. Now, let me come back to the point when I mentioned about my younger brother coming back from Australia with his degree, mechanical engineering degree from Queensland University of Technology. Guess what he did? Rather than get a job in the firm, he actually hunted around for a possible job that he can actually manage and employ me. I was working at Reuters News Agency at that point of time, introduced by my friend from secondary school. I did odd jobs at Reuters, low urgency unit, and I'm paid by the hour. Because I did OT, every month I could take back about maybe $1,000, $3,000, $4. That was how I'm able to go for my medical treatment without burdening my family members. That brought me much relief. Then my brother came back from Australia and said, bro, I just bought a company for my friend. It's a courier dispatch company. I need a clerk, a staff. So, okay lor. So I end up work for my younger brother. My take-home pay at that point of time was only $400 odd after paying CPF. Can you imagine? From 1,004 became 400. So was this a good transaction? A lot of people will you tao. But for me, it was a win-win situation. Because working for my brother only for about 1 year, I learned to use the PC and Microsoft softwares to create letters, to do invoicing, to do banking, blah, blah, blah. I do call reception, recording, and designation of tasks to our dispatch riders. And I get to communicate with clients and so on and so on. Can you imagine? Because of this job, I learned to make independent decisions that are in sync with the corporate responsibilities. And I get to learn about what is important. And in the middle of the month, I could join Toastmaster club activities to improve my ability to talk. Can you imagine, if I did not join Toastmasters, I may be a man of no words. So which would you prefer? Quiet or agile in talking? Articulate, I'll call that. When I was at home recovering after my accident, my friend came down to visit me, my secondary school friend. And as he chatted with me, he realized that my response was a bit retarded, or rather inhibited, or I don't know what to say lah. And so he said, I think you need to join Toastmaster Club. So he brought me to Thomson Toastmasters. I did not know what Thomson Toastmasters was doing, but I trusted him. So I followed my friend to Thomson, and Thomson Toastmasters Club in Singapore, they are the first community club in Singapore. When they saw my unique status, they gave me free participation for a long period of time. Within 3 months of under their guidance, under their mentoring, I was able to give a public speech at York Hotel in a forum organized by medical professionals from Tan Kok Liang, SGH, and NUH. Can you imagine, in a panel of people in front, I'm the only one who's a brain injured, sharing my experiences. And at that point of time, when I gave this speech, my friends and supporters were in the audience. My family was in the audience. So that was the beginning of a movement to help bring about community awareness about brain injury. And I was the president of Head Injury Support, Broken Brains, Brain Injury Society of Singapore. I was the president of Brain Injury Society. Then later, the hospital staff took over and registered as a Brain and Spinal Injury Foundation. Now we are called Broken Brains. Like my shirt? Broken Brains. But look at me. Broken but not eaten. So it's about joy. I can look at it. This makes me unique. So I do not try to be the same as other people. I try to be better than what I am yesterday. Tomorrow, I'm going to be even better than now. Good, better, best. I'll never let it rest until good gets better. Better gets to best. For if it is to be, it is up to me. I can do it better. You just wait and see. Yeah, 明天会更好，要看我努力不努力。So this is a journey, not easy, undulating. It brings about challenges because I don't want to have the expectation that, hey, why don't they understand me? They should understand me. I accept that they don't understand me. I forgive them for not understanding me. And I ask, what can I do to make it better? In my workplace, I face colleagues, environment, whereby they may not be so inclusive of brain injury conditions, etc. They may not know how to cope with it best. But I'm not going to throw tantrum and cry it out. When things are not calm, I seemingly detach, go out for a stroll. When I come back, I know things will be better because I've given them time to reflect, to appraise themselves, and come out with more constructive measures. You know, every Wednesday, me and myself, I'll go and visit a store because there's this shop in Nanyang whereby it is actually a camera shop or photograph shop, printing shop. They help people make passport. But every Wednesday, they will actually prepare lunch or buy lunch for the elderly staying in that area because Nanyang is a very old estate. And the elderly, a lot of them are probably disabled, jobless. So they'll be coming there to collect food, like alms. Or is it called like alms? I'm not sure. Yeah, and they'll get food, free food. So I actually go there to mingle with the elderly, to inspire them, to motivate, drive them. I even start to cut hair. So imagine I became a barber the other day. I just brought my scissors for cutting hair and the tools necessary. And I had one guinea pig, and he's happy with what I've done to him. Because for myself, I cut my own hair. I don't have to splurge money and waste it to go to a barber. That's why barber hate me. Because each cut you go to a barber is about $8 to $10, Sing dollar. Oh my gosh. So if I cut myself, it's FOC. If I cut for them, the elderly, they'll be very happy. It's about what we can do to make the world a better place. Well, I show you something like this. This campfire. Maybe it's, I sing you a song. Sorry, I forgot the song. It only takes a spark to get the fire going, and soon all those around will warm up in its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you experience it, you want to sing. It's fresh like spring. You want to pass it on. So it's about being the lighted beacon. Actually, I wanted to give up my life. One more reason I didn't was I actually went to buy dictionary to help me to improve my vocabulary. And as I walked to the MRT, Mass Rapid Transport, I passed by a place called Peace Center. I saw an Indian gentleman, 70 plus years old, sitting on a stool with posters behind his back. I do not have anything to do, so I look at the posters. One of them caught my eye. What was it? It was the picture of a lonely lighted beacon in the middle of a dark, stormy sea. I felt emboldened. Hey, that is me. Seemingly insignificant, but without me, ships are going to capsize because of shallow water. So I have a role to play. And the brain injury actually allowed me to be featured on television, MediaCorp channel, to reach out to the whole community when the economy was down. And people who are challenged, when they learn of my story, they can be inspired. So there's a role I can play. I can go to school and teach. I became a teacher 6 years after permanent amnesia. Can you imagine? Because the brain surgeon told me, Takalah, don't worry. Your CPU is still a Pentium. Just use 2% of your remainder half a hard disk, you'll be okay. I thought you must be kidding. But after the appointment, I rushed to the National Library at Jurong East, borrowed a book on body physiology, and hoo la la, I realized it is true. University graduate use up less than 1% of the neurons in the brain. Einstein, they tested his brain after his death. They found out he used less than 10% of his brain. So with this kind of tangible knowledge or very inspiring knowledge, I endeavored. When my friends visited me at my home, they asked me, oh, Takalah, or rather Kok Liang, you're at home, you got nothing to do, what do you need? I told them, I need books. They have, you know why? They don't need 10-year series anymore. So they gave me their 10-year series, mathematics, science, physics, blah, blah, blah. So I get to devour this during my recovering at home. And imagine, I was able to get a tangible feel of the real world by reading the encyclopedia, the children encyclopedia I got my brother to get. I get to see and be able to appreciate everything that comes before my eyes. My eye. This eye is blind, 5% blind, dislocated. So I see double images, but it's okay. And they did not cut my eyeball out. They cut my whole socket. They relocate my whole socket. So just now when I mentioned cut eyeball is no, it's cut socket. So that's why they actually had to cut from one ear to the other ear to detach my face and do the surgery without leaving much scar, except for from year to year. Yeah. So it is a very exciting journey. It is, and I can be different. Even right now, a lot of people are affected by COVID. Those who were rich may now be poorer because of the economic condition. And I tell you, they will be under a lot of stress. So for me to be so carefree and carefree and relaxed and being able to talk to you so earnestly, I feel it's my blessing. So I appreciate it, and I'll carry on to spread this kind of joy to the people around me, because there are a lot of elderly in Singapore who actually need this kind of company, this kind of motivation, this kind of activity association. And like me, I'm teaching them cha-cha. My gosh, they cannot dance well, but they love to look at me twiddle my butt when I do the cha-cha dance. See, it's about what do you have, find it and use it to make the world a better place. Well, with that suffice, can I read my poem? Can I read my poem?
Takalah, can you leave your poem to the end? Because we have a lot of good questions for you. The first question I want to ask you is that, why do you come up with this name of Takalah?
Okay, Takalah comes from the word, my name, Tan Kok Liang. My name, Tan Kok Liang, is Tankokling. My initials are TKL. When I was at age of around 15, I started to write to pen friend. And at that point of time, O levels was coming. And so what did I do? I actually wanted my name to have a lot of A's, so that I want to pass with flying colors. Too sad. I only got 1A, 2B for my A level. But this 3A became a symbolism. And so Takalah was created. But Takalah, the sound itself, I didn't quite like it. So I added a H at the back. It becomes Takalah. In Chinese, Takalah sounds like the person is happy. Can you imagine people point to me, Takalah? They also, oh, of course, 我很可乐, 可口可乐. Well, it is the name meaning where I joined Reuters news agency I mentioned earlier on to work to earn money to pay for my medical needs. And in Reuters, there are a lot of foreign staff. Malay told me my name Takalah resemble Tidak Kalah short form. That means not lose. And Chinese Takalah, I mentioned to you. In American Red Indians, Takalah means warrior in one of their dialect group. In Japan, Takalah is actually spelled in Japanese as Takalar, but it means treasure. In China, north of Kunlun Mountains, there is a place called Takalah Makan Desert. That means I am eating in the desert. Takalah Makan in the desert, isn't it? Quite cute, huh? So when I learned of all these different meaning, and all of them are quite constructive, I felt empowered that, hey, this name is good to use, man. And that time I used it to write my pen friend. That's why after my accident, when I went through my belonging, when I found my pen friend calling me Takalah, I asked my secondary school friends, how come my pen friend called me Takalah? They mentioned to me, you created this name and you wanted us to call you by this name, but we refused. You see, at the time they refused, no choice, just communicate with my pen friend law. So this law, this realization of this, finding of this letter in my cabinet gave me a new life, because I set up right. I said, hey, so I can let go of my past to embrace the present, to embark into the future. That's why when I went to Malaysia to makan, Malaysian customs saw, face different. She didn't say, how come? She merely crossed my passport and let me pass. So I went home, I found out, my passport cannot cross already, 怎么办? And when I inquired, I realized that I have to get a lawyer to write a deed poll to certify my identity. And I had to go to our Singapore government department to change my passport, change my IC. And that is similar to my rebirth. So it all the more helps me to let go of my past so that I can embark on the future without being tied down to the I was, no, they were, blah, blah, blah. Because these are things that we cannot solve. But in front of us are things that we can make better each day. Sorry if I talk too much.
Yeah, and I remember that you were talking about you were in a deep well that was so dark. How do you get out from this deep well? So that's an important lesson for all of us.
I was in very bleak condition. So I use a parallel scenario to describe. It resembles me falling into a well, because I stayed in a kampong in the past. We used to catch spider, fight spider, climb coconut tree. So we had a well, and I imagine that the well being deep, had not much water in it, but I am trapped inside the well. Do I want to be like some people who just complain? No, they just sit down, complain, transfer the responsibility. Or do I want to ask myself, what can I do about it? And so at that point of time, I imagine myself telling myself that I can try to climb out from this well, however difficult it may be, however hopeless it may be. I found a crevice, I could grip onto it. Let me try and look for another crevice. Another, boom, I fell down. So back to the pit, I started again. And that way of navigation, every time I fall down, I realize not which crevice not to hold. And from mistakes, lessons are learned. Imagine eventually I'm able to get out from the well, pull myself up and see the environment. It means I have been saved. Can you imagine the kind of elation? So I use all this visual imagery to embed in myself something that I can remember better because I got memory retention deficit. Another is my environment, people are always bombarding me. Like, remember, I told you my family, my friends, and society, they look at me, they go, hey, this guy, he looks so weird, and I felt hurt. So what did I do? I closed my eyes and I imagined myself using sandpaper to abrase my face. Until eventually, after a while, a few months, a few years, my skin is as thick as my foot. So I got thick skin. I became impregnable. See, I use all this phenomena, this analogy to create a deep-rooted effect on myself who has deficiency in memory retention.
Good. The question that I want to ask you next is, where do you draw your strength to overcome your physical impairment and also your mental depression? Where does the strength come from? Is it from yourself or from your family or from who?
Okay, my family, they actually caused me a lot of trauma, but I understand it's because of love. When we were young, my mom actually had to whip us until we bled. Imagine my elder brother was a bit naughtier. My mom actually had to tie two whips together so he can eat the skin and pluck the skin off and leave behind scar. And my elder brother even got chained to a metal pillar because he was really naughty at the point of time and disregard my mom's instruction. But because of my mom's teaching, all three of us became officers in the army. And after my accident, my mom told me, did you know that when I hit you when you were young, I cried. Hitting you is like hitting myself. It reminds me that for God so loved us, he had to send his begotten son to bear our brunt, and sad he does feel. It reminds me that when I was a teacher, when my students did those kind of nonsensical things, I cried because I love them, I care for them, and what they do truly hurts. And I realized feelings like this help us to realize our core value reason. Whilst at home, I looked up, recovering a few months after my accident at home, I looked up and I asked, why me? Who was I asking? I believe I was asking him, why me? And then my body sat upright and my eye opened wide. Is it because I'm the chosen one? That means I'm bestowed a role to partake? What is it? What is it? And so in search of, I went on this journey to find out the role that I can play to make the world a better place. It's about realization of a role, a task on hand that gave me the compelling urge to find this role, to bring about the realization. And so I can sleep every day contented that I've lived my day well. And I look forward to every tomorrow because I'm going to do it again and again. Yeah.
Okay. So from this trauma that you had now, what is the most important life lessons that you have learned, and
like
what others can learn from you?
Okay. Case management is very important. I learned that case management is very important. You have to learn to self-case manage and don't just wait for people to manage you. Because if they were to do that, you may lose your self-identity. And understand that if it's gonna be, it is up to me. You yourself, you are a game player. Even people in prison, they each are game player of their own life. They can actually interact and mingle well with their community in jail to build up the kind of camaraderie, to be the mentor for another, to enable another, and to depart from the prison a better person. Even patients in hospitals, they can build up a comradeship in the ward such that waking up every day, they feel they can rejoice and can hear the harmony rather than I look at you, you look at me with a kind of grouchy face. How they start each day matters. Family members, when they come together in a hospital, they can actually mingle with one another to talk about what they can do, what they are doing to help their respective relative who is actually medically challenged, so that this kind of sharing can provide a sense of camaraderie as well as to provide new opportunities, new ways, such that they can practice it, test it, and if good, adopt it, the measure that are being discussed. And my student, when I was teaching in school, I was teaching a normal tech student. After I finished my teaching bond of 3 years, I resigned from teaching. I flew to Australia to study about brain injury. In Australia, I realized that they do active community inclusion of brain injured. They put it as part of the curriculum for their citizens to learn about brain injury. And this was started by people who were affected. They gathered together to meet, they lobbied at first, and later they get together to discuss, to meet at St. Mary's Church in Thornbury and come out with papers that they can present to government, and government saw, oh, this is an issue of concern. And so they implement measures into society. And they even have Brain Injury Awareness Week. So when I was there, I was featured together with three other brain injured people on posters, on postcards, to tell the community that brain injury comes in different ways. So each one must be well case managed. In the picture, if you go internet, Google search for my name, Takalah, Takalah, you can see in pictures, one of the picture will be three people standing and a girl on wheelchair. The three of them are Caucasian, I'm Chinese. So the girl on wheelchair was beaten up by a classmate until she became paralyzed from neck to toe. So her mother had to look after her 24 hours a day. The guy standing, half of his brain caused him to have fits, uncontrolled fits and convulsion every few months. So they had to remove half of his brain. And yet he looked like he bo tai ji one. He doesn't look at all like he's got brain damage. He just don't talk much. And the girl beside him on his right hand, that means when you look at pictures on your left eye, you see, behind me or beside me, this girl actually was in a vehicle with her mom. The mom drove a car, hit a tree, and she didn't tie seatbelt, so she flew out. She smashed the front screen and fell out. Can you imagine this girl? She still gets to work 3 days a month. Her father got lobang, he's a government official, so she's able to still work and become like an able person. Well, in Singapore, we need to improve the situation for brain injured people in Singapore. And Malaysia, I believe you all do too. Even Japan, when I attended the 6th World Congress on Brain Injury, Japanese whom I met, they also felt helpless because their environment is quite a stressful environment, and brain injured have not been well included in political measures, social measures to help. Yeah. Hey, did I digress? Sorry if I digress.
No, it's okay. I think the time is we are limited to 1 hour. I want to ask you a very important question, which is even anyone without a brain injury, they will have a lot of negative thoughts. And for you, you are the Superman in transforming your negative thoughts. So can you teach us how to transform all these negative feelings, negative thoughts? And
like I mentioned, one important thing is to detach yourself from the I. Look at yourself, the I, as one of the entity in this situation. Who, what, where, when, why means how. You are one of the who. So when you look at yourself from a third-party perspective, your ego becomes lessened. Learn to look at yourself from a third-party perspective. This can help you lower your ego status a great deal. Have a levitated perspective. We call that bird's eye view. Yeah. Community interest is very important. Your family, your friends, how you affect them, your conscience should be your guiding light. If you don't have conscience, too bad. If you feel conscientious, that is good. It's like, how will I affect them? The kind of guilt factor, my gosh, that is very important. After my accident, I numbed myself. I told you I numbed my face. So I became impregnable. One day when I attended a course, a psychological course, a motivation course, they actually put us in the room, they turned off the light, and all of us were seated on the floor. They told us to look up with your eyes closed and recall the time you hurt the people who love you so much, blah, blah, blah. So I looked up and I saw my father, my beloved father who died because of me, died of heart attack. I looked up and I saw him telling me, son, don't worry, I am somewhere safe. What I wish is for you that you will stand up again, become able, and help me look after your beloved mother, my wife. Wow, torrential tears came down from my eye. And I felt so, my gosh, I'm a man and I'm crying in a group of people. I felt so belittled by my tears. But when they said, open your eyes, I opened my eyes. Wow, managing director also crying there. That time I felt I'm down to earth. So it is this kind of realization that marks learning experience that are of great importance in navigation towards a better tomorrow. 明天会更好. Yeah, and I'm part of it.
Okay.
Poem or poem?
No. Very interesting. The one of the reason you became very popular in Singapore because I think it was a Twitter sharing, and the comment was that you were asking very funny things. So I think maybe this brain injury has allowed you to be less inhibited, and less inhibition allows you to be able to reach out to more people.
So maybe I can share something here. After my accident, my filter was torn down. So at the age of 24, I saw everyone, I saw the environment from a clean slate. And this, I realized, is a very important factor. A lot of people are seeing life through filtered panes, and this actually blinds them. Thank you.
Good. So I think we allow you to share your poem. You have a poem that can.
Okay, two poems.
Three poems.
Three poems. I do it quickly. Okay. I found this in my cupboard, and that gave me hope. Against the wind, older but no wiser, I still find myself inextricably, unavoidably running against the wind. Whilst it could have been easier, rowing with the tide, something within me beckons, do it otherwise. Define instincts, rejecting the norms, living my life on its edge. I refused to conform. Perhaps one day, just one fine day, when my time is done, laid down to oblivion, my life have just begun. So that was written 9 years before the accident. 8 years before the accident, was it a nightmare or was it reality? I asked myself. I entered half conscious what was happening, gradually opening my eyes to sense and to react. It was at first like Eden of Roses on the summit of Olympia, the very pinnacle of mankind. But the thorns hurt not just me, but all whom embraces it. My mind still burns with a sad memory, and till death will they part. But stand up I will, because upon me is burst out the roll. Not many can partake, and this I know I will do to my very last breath. Can read the Chinese one?
Okay, you can read it fast.
Okay, it's from the first poem I wrote. I translated the Mandarin because I want people who are only able to understand Mandarin to learn my experiences.
Takalah, you found a poem that you wrote before the accident, right? And it was like
9 years before the accident. Yeah, this one is 9 years before the accident. I translate the Mandarin.
Okay.
对，我把这首诗教成逆风而行。Imagine like F9 for Mandarin。年龄已大了，可思想未成年，被人发现自己无法避免，度过一生逆风而行的命。不知何谓，总是以反浪潮、反本能的方式，反中的思想与行为，徘徊在生与死的边缘。就当我倒塌在一个失去所有的境界里，本人在死亡之中得到了新生，逐渐的爬了起来，开始勇往一条新的生命旅途啊！呀，蛋蛋。
Okay, thank you. Okay, to me, I think you're like an X-Men, like a Superman. So I just want to ask you, do you have any weaknesses from mental point of view, not the physical point? So the mental thing like craving, and anger and all that. So especially anger towards the policeman who parked the car.
I don't anger. They were doing their job, and like at times I do things wrongly. So I believe at that point of time they did something they shouldn't. They shouldn't have parked on the right lane facing oncoming traffic to allow accident vehicle to quarrel about it. But if I were able to get legal sentence against them, it may spoil their entire future. I may get millions of dollars in compensation, but that may make me lackadaisical and I may rot away. So having not won any case, not being able to bring up the case, help the police to carry on his job, help the society to be motivated by my experience during hard time, and help me to now help the elderly and live each day to the fullest. Well, money we cannot bring to the grave. So it's about living every day, free of conscience, guilt factor. I mean, that would suffice, I would say. Yeah. While you reset, I show people what I do. I do walking on my finger to actually improve my psychomotor dexterity. I change the finger. I don't look at it and do it correctly. That's why I teach the old people. And you can also do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, all this kind of exercise help us to improve nimble, psychomotor reflexes will be better. So it's facilitating a body muscle can help the brain can help the body muscle. Keep it working, don't stagnate, don't be lackadaisical too often. Thanks.
Okay, so I'll share your video now. Right.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
See my eye tear just watching it.
Okay, I think we come to the end. But if you allow me, I want to ask you a personal question. Just now I asked, you said there's no limit that I can ask you.
Sure.
So what happened to your girlfriend? And are you married now?
I'm not married. The time after the accident, my girlfriend looked after me for 3+ months, and she asked me a question at that end of that time. She asked me, do I remember our relationship? I told her I hear what they say, I heard what they say, but I do not know why I chose you. You're so tall. I mean, she's a very beautiful girl, very intelligent. But inside, I know that if I were to tell her, I can remember you're my girlfriend, it's gonna bring her a lot of challenges because I am totally different. I must tell the truth and let her go. And at that point of time, she left me. And so I'm able to become my own case manager to embark on my journey, recovery journey, reintegration into society one step at a time. Because I'm different. If I were to enforce, compel, it's going to be hurt on both sides. And hence, I need to practice what I've learned to let go, to learn to let go so that I can understand, appreciate the new situation and plan more carefully. Otherwise, my planning will be corrupted by should I use another person's time, use another person's attention, because we just graduated from university. My decision can make everybody succeed or can spoil the whole show. So hence, I put aside my ego. I look at the situation from a rational point of view and make a decision that I feel will bring about the fruits that are desired. And right now, it's proven. She's happy where she is. I am glad for each new day. Yeah. Surprised you asked this question.
Yeah, I told you.
I'm a romance. I read hundreds of Mills and Boons during my secondary school day. No, I'm a class monitor. I'll be hiding at the back reading Mills and Boons, and that is a girl's book. So I'm glad to say that my guys are XY. We are half a girl, half a guy. Yeah. So it's good to be emotional, but it's about being able to be at peace with self. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question from the audience.
Yep.
So where is it? Where's the question? How to see that?
It disappeared.
Yeah. Where? How to see the? So someone there say that he's curious that whether you are more spiritual than before.
Wait, there's one. Dr. Chung Kiet said, do you have any recorded? You can actually Google search for Takalah. There are quite a number of videos. When you look under videos, recently Pioneer Magazine just released a video of me in my therapy. I use the water as a fluid dynamic. Yeah, that one is actually available. Plus some people who interview me about motivational speech, etc. All these are available in the internet. Just Google search for Takalah, you can find. Yeah. Then you're mentioning just now, what's the question?
Okay. So the question from Dr. Chong says that he's curious that whether you are more spiritual now than or were you before spiritual? So are you more spiritual after the accident? And he said he believed that there's a wonderful God that's watching over you, and asked whether you agree.
I agree. I think I'm more spiritual after my accident, because before my accident, I was busy with a lot of things, like mountain climbing, scuba diving. Yeah, I guess I'm not so spiritual at that time. After the accident, I did. In fact, I was attending a cell group before COVID. I was attending a cell group in a church. Yeah, and this cell group is a cell group of disabled people, started by a lady who became blind while teaching. So I get to see how fortunate I am in this group of people that I can be an enabler rather than be always waiting to ask for help. Yeah. And now helping the elderly in Tzu Chi organization. It is actually a Buddhist platform, but we have a lot of Christians, Catholic using it, plus Muslim also, to help the elderly community learn to come together, to interact, to learn skills, to communicate, to exercise. Every day, wow, it's a fresh start. Imagine I go down, the old people, there'll be one or two elderly. They are about 70 plus, 80, and they'll be waiting to help out to lay out the chairs. It so warms my heart. Yeah.
Okay, I think
that reminds me of a song in Singapore song. There is a part for everyone in this land that we belong. Yeah, okay, enough.
Okay.
You laugh.
Yeah. I'm impacted by your.
There's another song that's very meaningful. It's a Chinese song. 大风吹，把头摇一摇，风停了，它停止摇。大雨来，挽着背，让雨浇。雨停了，抬起头，站直脚。不怕风，不怕雨，立志要站高。小潮实在是并不小。So imagine a grass can be so nimble to withstand such torrential environment. What are we humans? Are we less than a grass?
Okay. With that, I think we'll thank you for teaching us a lot of good lessons. And
thank you very much, Dr. Wong.
Yeah, for those of you who wants to know more about Takalah, you can Google his name, and there's a lot of information that you can see there, how he overcome his difficulties and impairment. With that, thank you everyone for listening. Okay, bye-bye.